Hi everyone, Gerard Scarpese here, craft hairdresser and co-founder of the Hairbrain community. And I'm really excited about today because it's a really special one, as you can see by my guests today. We've got Sonya Dove and Briana Cisneros, two of the most respected educators in the industry. And they're going to be sharing the Wella love here, showing us some incredible color techniques, very diverse formulas. We've been checking out our gorgeous models, Ala and Jaden. You guys are in for a real treat. As always, I'll be monitoring your questions to share with the ladies as they're working, because they want to be able to give you those answers that you're looking for about color, color correction, formulation, while they teach you these incredible lessons. So remember, let us know your questions. Let us know where you're watching from. We always want to give shout outs, so share the love, and I'll be popping back in with your questions. Sonya, do you want to get started for us today?
Yes, so this is Jaden, and first things first, proper consultation. So in my consultation with Jaden, first thing was looking at her beautiful eye color and her skin tone as well. And what this said to me was she has great options in the world of reds. I'm going to be using a very strong copper. I'm going to be using a cool red and almost a pinkish red, 3 different tones together. I'm going to start off with doing her base. As you can see, she has a natural new growth here, deeper on the new growth and lighter on the ends. She's about a natural level 5. The color I'm going to be using is from Koleston Perfect. It's 6-stroke 3-4, a level 6 gold red. It is mixed with only 10 volume, and I'm just going to be putting in almost like a root shadow here with that formula, and that's going to be all over the head, but I'm going to be bringing it out to about 2 inches. So that's going to be full all over, and then once I've done that, I'm then going to come through the back area, which I'll catch you up on a bit later, and apply it all the way through to the mid lengths and ends. So she's got quite a lot of hair and it's long, so I'm going to get started with that. Thanks, Gerard.
So we're excited to see the whole technique, and we'll catch up with Sonya as she starts to get into her application. Again, if you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from the Wella studio here in Calabasas. Beautiful, beautiful facility. We're in their recording studio with 2 incredible educators, Sonya Dove and Briana Cisneros. So we really are encouraging you guys to ask questions. Let us know where you're watching from, because we want to pick the brains of these 2 incredible educators. So let's move over to Briana now. Looks like you've got your beautiful model, Ala, sectioned off. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing.
Okay, so thank you, Gerard. Today, we actually cut a lot of length off of Ala today, and we gave her this bob. She did not previously have this. So I'm sectioning it off to the haircut. So for me, that's something that I do often. I really like to cut the hair first before I color. I'm gonna start here in the back, and I'm going to be using 3 different colors, one at the root, being 5-4-3, 6-7-1, and then just a touch of 6-3-4. And this is all gonna be done with 10 volume at the root. To keep it nice and soft, I want her outgrowth to be nice and soft as well, so that when it grows out, it's not going to be too abrupt of a line of demarcation. Then we're gonna move on to another color through the mids and another color through the ends that I'll expound on once I get there. But the reason being is I want this to look like it has that natural depth to light effect. We're using mostly coppers and browns today. So keeping it really, really warm, but also somewhat natural and soft. So she has this coppery color, but it'll by no means be boring, right? Because we're actually going to be using something bright and a little bit fiery. We already pre-lightened these little flecks of blonde on the ends of her hair, and that's the fiery color, these fiery little bits we're going to use popping out all over on the ends.
So definitely nothing's going to be boring here today with these 2 incredible educators. I want to share some love with some of our viewers, some of our community that's watching. Our good friend Kevin Baker from Down Street Salon says we've got the all-star educators today. Awesome. And we've got Sasha Kremich watching from London. Always a pleasure to have you here. Sonya, you've got your friends in Kansas City. Haley Osterk says, hi, Sonya. Hello from Kansas City. We've got Rhiannon Nakula watching from England. So guys, let us know where you're watching from. We always like to see who's watching around the world. Sometimes during these lessons, we have people from Africa, Australia, Pakistan. You know, it's what it's all about, sharing education with the global community of hairdressers. And we've got incredible educators today. I'm going to turn it back over to Sonya, and she can catch us up on her technique.
Yes, I'm just applying to her new growth, Jaden's new growth. She is a natural level 5. The formula that I'm using is from Koleston Perfect. It's a level 6 and it's a gold red. So that is our 6-stroke 3/4. And in with the 6-stroke 3/4, I've put a little bit of our special mix 0-stroke 4/3. The reason for that is with Jaden's skin tone and eye color, she doesn't look good with anything too brunette. She actually looks amazing with very vibrant colors. And the reason I know that, not only knowing Jaden personally myself, but her beautiful eye color, you want that eye color to really strike and stand out. And sometimes I've seen it when she's had a little bit too much brown in her hair, and it really doesn't emphasize her lovely eye color and skin tones. So I'm working through applying the 6-stroke 3/4 at the new growth. And once I've got this base color applied, I'm then going to be going in with 2 other shades that are my accent shades. And I'm going to be going through using foils, but any of you that work in the salon, I work in the salon every week. And for me, I'm always working in a more simplistic way. I like to work smarter, not harder. I don't like to overcomplicate things. And I always make sure that I make suggestions for the future for my guests when they come in to see me in the chair. Like, for example, this week when I'm working in the salon, I'm actually doing to my client's hair something I suggested about 4 months ago. I believe in the power of suggestion. It's very important. So this week when my clients are in, guess what we're going to be talking about? Spring, summer. Because even though it seems far away, I want to set a thought in their heads about some of the opportunities that we can do with color, cut, and style for future times. That always works well, doesn't it?
Yeah, Sonya, I love that you mentioned the same thing for cut, because I think colorists or people who focus on color have always been great at making the suggestions, but sometimes cutters forget that every time you do a consultation, you should say, you know, I know you haven't had bangs in a while. Have you been thinking about it? Maybe we should try it. Even if they don't go for that change, it keeps clients coming back because they know they're thinking about you.
Exactly.
Brianna, I have a question, and I also have some love for the audience. But with your pre-sectioning, how important is it where you place this kind of elliptical or oval section? If it's a little higher or lower, how does it change the overall effect?
So it definitely changes the overall effect. If I'm placing it further back on the head, I'm focusing this as my area of most depth. And also, so I want those roots to melt down just a little bit further, but I also focused most of my pre-lightening in that area as well. So when I do it, you'll see how I kind of organically, I don't do a color melt everything at the same level. I'm going to alternate the different levels of which I apply the different shades of mids and ends based on her haircut and based on the previous lightening that we did. So everything is a beautiful story working together for the end result. Nothing's disconjoined, but the sectioning is always important to me. So even if I don't pre-section it with so much intensity, I'm still working within sections, and with all of that in mind, I'm always working, I know which section I'm in, I know how it behaves, I know how the hair lays and behaves in that area, and that's what guides me just mentally. So even with my haircut here, I know that this area here, because she has somewhat of a one-length bob with some texture and fun things happening on the top, I'm gonna go in just the same way that I cut it, pre-section it, and I'm not gonna do my bright fiery ends there. I'm gonna go in with the mid color that has a little bit more depth, because I know that it's lying underneath and I wanna create a backdrop for those brighter pieces on top. Sectioning is everything. Being mindful of where hair lays, how it's going to tell the story in the end is everything, for sure.
Awesome, thank you. I've got a question coming in from Leah Lavaggi. She's not a Wella user, and she's wondering if you can break it down in tone and level so she can understand exactly what you're using.
100%. So I'm using a level 5 and 6 together at her roots. And it is red with a lot of golds and a little bit of brown in at her root area, just to compensate for what some hairdressers call hot roots, right? So I want to make sure that I'm not creating any kind of warmer band here, because that's the area that you typically want to have the most depth. Then through her mids, I'm going in with more coppers and a level 7 and a level 8 mixed together. So that's going to be her mid-tone, and that's what I'm applying right now. And it's more vibrant, more copper mixed with a 20 volume, because I'm not worried about, they used to, I don't know if they still call this the cold shaft, but back in beauty school, they call it the cold shaft. But that helps you remember that there's not the heat of the scalp and that you need to warm it up. So I'm warming it up with my 20 volume and my lighter levels to help get that impact and brightness that I want to see from the color. And then my last shade that I'm going to be using on these pre-lightened parts is a level 9, and it's a red. It's a little more fiery, but because it's at a level 9, it's so light and bright that it's just going to be these little like flecks of brightness. A level 9 mixed with a little bit of a level 8, both with 20 volume and Wellaplex to keep the brightness, but to keep the hair integrity.
Thanks, Brianna. I'll give out some shout outs here before we get back to Sonya with some love. We've got Elsa Araya watching from the UK. Great to have you here. Hi. My buddy Rick Jaramillo. Looking forward to see you at Teach-In, as always, Rick. Brianna's going to be joining us, and maybe Sonya if we get lucky this year. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, we do a great live event every year at ISSE, and we've got some great educators. Brianna's already signed up for that one, and we're working hard to get Sonya to join us. So let us know. Let her know that it'll be a great thing for her to do. Ray Fung is watching. Our buddy Steve Statlin. Thank you, Steve, for always tuning in. Thank you, Leah Lavaggi, for the great questions. We have Martin Duff watching.
Martin!
Good old friend of ours. Martin Duff is watching. Great to have you here, Martin.
Hello.
Bobby Labar from Scottsdale. Fantastic. All right, guys. So most important, I love giving you shout outs, but we want your questions. I know you're all there. You know, you've got two great, incredible educators here, and they'd love to share. Now, here's one coming in for you, Sonya.
Yes.
It's from Diane Vallis Rambo. She loves your hair, and she's wondering what the formula is on your beautiful red hair.
I want to know the whole story.
Yes, so Diane, I always stay within the coppers. I am about 20% grey. So I use 7-stroke 3-4 from Koleston Perfect, and I use 20 grams of that, which is a level 7 gold red, but I have to add in some 7-stroke 03 for my greys as well. So I add in about 10 grams of that, and I mix it with 20 volume. But I'm an addict of direct dyes, so I'm a Color Fresh Create girl. I change my tone all the time, and today I am wearing equal parts equal parts of Infinite Orange with Coral Red. And the reason I love the Color Fresh Create is I put them on about once a week, and I have the ability to be able to change my tone often. And as you can see, I love red.
We've got another question coming in from Bobby Labar. I think he was from Scottsdale. I remember that name. Bobby's wondering, so we talked about future appointments. He wants to know what the touch-up process is like for this, and is it difficult to touch it up?
No, actually, the touch-up process is very easy because, as you can see, I've just used one color at the base. So this is a level 6 gold red. So it's the depth of a 6, then we have gold next, and then red. So it's a beautiful level 6 copper. So the touch-up process is just going to be using that color at the new growth when Jaden comes in the next few weeks to have her new growth touched up. Now I'm going to be adding my accent colors, and I'm going to be adding 2 more colors to the formula. And the way I do this, I'm just going around just checking, because I've done a very quick root application here of that level 6. I'm now going to go in with 2 more colors. So there's a technique to this. And Brianna, you just jump in, my love, if you need to say anything, because this is a bit of a long one.
Go for it.
I'm going to take big sections, and I take them very organically. So please don't look at the foils and think they're not perfect and precise, because I really want you to take big sections. And what I'm doing, I just take a section of hair, and you can start anywhere on the head, the width of a foil, and I am going to be doing a weave, a heavy weave, pretty chunky. And with that weave, the top section of that weave is going to be my first accent color, and I'm going to be putting it in a blue foil. And that is on one of our new reds. It is in Koleston Perfect, and it is 99/44, and it is gorgeous. It really is. It's absolutely great color.
That's exactly what I've got right
here.
It's
We both love that one.
Oh my gosh.
It's gorgeous. And I'm mixing it with Pastel Developer, Welloxon Pastel Developer, 6 volume, Welloxon Pastel Developer, 1.9%. And the reason I'm using that is because the ends are lightened anyway, I'm just going to be putting that through, just adding deposit. So this color here is 99/44 with Pastel Developer, which is 1.9% or 6 volume. And I'm going to fold that up, and I'm not going to fold the ends. I'm just going to fold it up. And then the underneath weave section, I'm going in with the base color. So all of the base colors are going to be my red foils. This is to make sure that I don't lose track of the colors that I'm using. So just placing that in and just going in with my base color. Then my underneath section, I'm going to be doing the same, except I'm going to be going in with another color on the top. And once I've got this down and you can see my pattern, I'm just going to repeat this all over the head. But it's not going to be many foils. You're going to see probably about maximum 15 foils.
Sonya, your buddy Andrew Dunn says hello.
Oh.
He's watching over in the UK. He leads a Wella group over there
Oh,
that we see on Facebook all the time.
Yes.
For all you Wella lovers,
Yes.
the Wella community on Facebook. I have a question.
Yes?
Does it matter where you start?
It doesn't matter where you start. I like to start at the top here. You can start at the back, because all we're doing essentially is alternating colors. So that was my first weave on the top here. I put those over. You can see I'm not really folding the foils. My next section, so a very big weave, take the hair and do a nice heavy weave. And I am going to be going in again, the top section. The top section is going to be a gold foil, and the colors I'm using are the colors that I mentioned that I use on my hair. I am going to be using Color Fresh Create, which is our direct dye, and I'm mixing 10 grams of high magenta with 20 grams of our red. So 10 grams of high magenta and 20 grams of next red. That's my top section. Only fold it up to isolate the color. And then I'm going to go in on that underneath section, which is all of this. And that is going to be the base color.
Fantastic. We're also live on Instagram, so we've got questions coming in on both. I'm double-handed here. Yeah, this is a first for me.
That's an easy one.
I've got one I'm going to throw over to you here, Brianna.
Sounds great.
What tips do you have for keeping your clients from getting too browned out and dull when you put red on the ends?
I am using 20 volume on the ends. For me, it depends though. See, it really depends because what Sonya's got going on is a completely different situation. So mixing to really kind of, if you're worried about them getting browned out and dull, you're gonna need a lot more of those brighter tones as opposed to anything on the cool side, right? So anything on the cool side, could possibly grab a little bit more dull. So maybe grabbing for more of your reds and intensities and coppers and things like that, as opposed to things with too much violet in them. But also upping your volume, upping your developer volume and your volume strength. But if you have to be careful because like in Sonia's situation, it's very different than my client where 20 volume on the ends is like, we're going to need that to get that lift. And then Sonia's needing to use pastel for her client because obviously she's much more pre-lightened. That cuticle is wide open and ready, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to kind of consider the source. It's not like a one answer for everything, especially when it comes to color formulating, right? Totally depends.
Everything's a correction.
Everything is exactly.
Yes.
Now, Bobby LeBar noticed that you're both using 9944.
Yes.
And he's just wondering, is it hard to remove because of the intensity? We've been talking about how everyone loves to change their color. Sonya said she's changing it all the time. So this is becoming, something that people have to consider. If that's a really intense red, is it hard to remove and change? What are your thoughts?
It's a level 9. So for me,
no.
No. I think you're good to go. And it's something that I think is just like a really striking, incredible, like I don't think that it's an unwearable color. I think people get scared because they hear that intensity of a 9/9 stroke 4/4. Sounds like it's gonna just be like bright carrot orange. But think about the ways to use that. Like I said, I'm doing flecks, these little bits and fiery bits of color, as opposed to just, her whole head is that, which I think would be lovely anyways. But it really all depends on how you choose to use it with a color like that. It won't be hard to remove though.
Some love coming in from Chris Ray. He loves both of you guys as educators. And he's just wondering, Briana, what made you, I know we heard pretty deeply from Sonya, her choices in the beginning. How did you choose these tones for Alla? Maybe we'll show her face real quick.
Yeah, let's show her face. She has a very beautiful face. You
Yeah.
should just be staring at it the whole time, really. But so for her skin tone, I really thought that, because this is something pretty far outside of her natural level, right? She doesn't really look like she would be a natural redhead. And when I see that, I usually gravitate towards more coppers, like especially with the tonality of the brown of her eyes and her skin. I feel like this kind of coppery, fiery color. Have you guys ever seen that where somebody's a mixed ethnicity, really like beautiful, and then they have this kind of, there is this, speaking of pure Auburn, it's like a very Auburny but bright red. So I wanted something that was Auburny but bright, right? So it speaks loud and clear, but it also almost looks like something she could just have, right? Like, what are you mixed with? How does that work on you, right? But it's because it has some of those Auburn tones mixed into it with those bright coppers.
Thanks for sharing that, Briana. So we've got, again, lots of questions coming in on both platforms now. We're on Instagram, on the Wella Education page. I'm looking for your questions there. And then, of course, we're live on Hairbrain on Facebook.
Nice.
So, Sonya, we've got some questions coming in for you.
Ah.
Sonya, when you pull through the base color, do you change the developer volume?
When I pull through the base color, sometimes I do. It depends on what I'm working on. In Jaden's case here, because her ends are light, I am not changing. I'm just using the same all the way through because I want to use her base color as the tones that will run through. So see, she's dark. She's a level 5 at the new growth. Then around here, she's about a level 6, 7, and then she goes up to an 8, 9, and some of her ends are a 10. So just using that one tone and one developer all the way through, because of what it's going on, that will give me the difference without me having to do it. But yes, sometimes I do change tone. Sometimes I do 20 volume at the new growth and then 30 volume mid-lengths and ends. It really varies what it goes on. And also I noticed a question that Brianna had is I tend to use a lot of our special mix from Color Touch or Koleston to add to the formulas to make sure we don't get brown ends as well. You can also do that.
Special mix.
Yes, special mix, which means our sort of a brighter, like bright oranges, bright reds in there, just to make sure.
Just to finesse the formula?
Just to finesse the formula,
Fantastic.
especially if you've got porosity. Yes.
Diana Rambo is wondering if this is complicated to rinse, and do you like to use cool water?
It's not complicated to rinse at all. I am a big believer on doing a lot of things all in one go. So I like to do everything in one go. Maybe that's because of when I work in the salon, I have a very tight time schedule. So I like to work smarter, not harder. Cool water always helps anyway for redheads. I always suggest that a little bit to my redhead clients. But bigger than that is making sure they go home with the right product.
That was the second part of Diana's question. What about the at-home care?
Oh, very important, especially for redheads. Extremely important. You want to make sure that red's maintained. I encourage all my clients to come in for glosses in between and have a gloss on their hair in between services because I'm not seeing them so long. You know, Jaden's got a root shadow here, so she's not going to be in as often, but I want to make sure that red and copper's maintained. And it's easy to maintain it. I won't be doing different shades, but the different shades I put on it, I can do a one glaze all over and it'll still have those different vibrancies coming through.
In my experience, you know, as many of you guys know, I specialize in cutting, not color.
Yeah.
But whenever I want reds that I know are going to last, I always have asked, can we use Wella? Because I think Wella reds are.
Oh, yes.
Well, in my experience, they were
Everybody
known
loves
to be.
you now.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
But it's true.
You know, and I've been doing this for 30 years, and that was always the thing. Wella
100%,
reds last the longest, so that's
Yeah,
great to hear.
100%.
We did have a question coming in for Brianna from Ionopolos, I believe. Would it be possible to do your technique using different formulas?
Of course, absolutely. You know, I think that we really need to be careful not to lose the artistry of what we do. You know, a lot of times we think about the exact formula or the exact technique even. Sometimes when I show up to a shoot, and it's not for being unprepared, but it's when you see the model, you touch her, you see exactly what it needs, my technique changes. And what I even show you guys, I'm like, all right, now we're doing this, you know? Because you have to be able to change on the fly. And if you have somebody, essentially, I'm just going from the darkest to lighter to the lightest on the ends. I'm pulling through my mid-tone on some pieces, and then I'm pulling through that brightest color on the ends. And I'm not even so worried about them mixing right here. So I'll overlap even a little bit and then get most of that tone on the ends and kind of melt that through and really work it in because this is something, like I said, you have to feel it. So even I grabbed a little bit from over here and just slightly touched those ends. So the thing is as you're working through things, you can use this technique, you can use the sectioning and the ideas behind it because that stuff doesn't change, right? You want the depth at the roots and the lightness on the ends, right? But how you apply it, where you put the section is going to change based on your haircut. The formulation is going to change based on your starting level, and it should, right? So absolutely, use this with all of the colors of the rainbow.
So Brianna, whenever we work with color, one of the questions that always comes up is timing.
Yes.
You know, how long would you book for something? You know, we all know, okay, it's a single process or it's a partial or it's a full. When you're starting to do these multi-dimensional combination colors, how do you book it? How do you get the client and the receptionist to book the right amount of time?
Sure, right? Yeah. That's always the struggle. Yeah, that communication is the key. I think that definitely the receptionists need to be asking lots of questions to the clients. They need to do they need to be taught to do a mini consultation.
So they should almost have like a little script of questions that they're asking, right?
Absolutely have a script, and also just knowing the right questions to ask. So, you know, where's your hair at now? What are you looking for? So that they feel and are the professional in what they're doing, which is booking, right? And they get an idea of, oh, she's wanting all these multi-dimensional tones, or oh, this is what's happening. Oh, there's a little extra to it. And I would only give myself about an extra 15 minutes for this than a solid color, because really I am just pulling through a solid color.
Well, time is money. And that's the
Yeah,
other
that's
question
right.
that people are often wondering about.
Sure.
How do you charge? It's so easy to say, oh, my tints are this much and my partial is this much. But when you do something like this, and you don't have to say a dollar amount because we all charge different dollar amounts.
Sure.
But what's your thought process around how you actually come up with a price?
So for me, I charge a little bit differently, and I love to share this. I charge hourly, and the reason I charge hourly is because it's so fair. It's a very fair way to charge.
It's like almost every professional
time
charges
is money,
that way.
And it makes so much sense. It's very integral. It keeps you integral as well as them. And it also allows you to do whatever it is you need to do on the hair. And they're not questioning you, well, do I need the toner, or do I need Wellaplex, or do I need this other added, and you're just like, they're just not worried about it anymore, because they just knew that they came in, they sat down, and it takes what it takes, and we're gonna do the thing, But I would love to hear from Sonya a different take on that, because I charge hourly, and I think that can translate for some people, but for others, I think it's good to think about.
Yeah,
right?
it's a great conversation to
It's a
have,
good
and we should
conversation.
always be having these conversations about our services. So Briana is pointing out that she uses an approach where she charges by the hour,
Yeah.
which so do doctors and lawyers. I had an electrician at my house yesterday for 12 hours.
Ooh.
So it's a
Oh, no.
valid, it's a valid
Sorry.
way of doing it. But also sometimes people just make set prices for services. What's your approach, Sonya?
Yeah, so what I do with my guests is anything I'm going to do, I explain to them and I give them the price quote.
Upfront quote.
Upfront. And then that's a conversation between my client and myself. And then all I need to hear from them is a yes or a no. My prices are a little bit different. It's more a la carte, and I have a price for foils. I have partial foils and full head foils. I have a price for retouch color, and then a price for all over color. So I only have 4 prices. And it's usually a combination of adding the things together. So for Jaden's hair, it would be a full head foil with a root retouch. And I join the two together because her hair's going to be fully in foils and a root retouch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So lots of people are just joining us and sharing the love. Many people have been educated by you before, Sonya, and they're just so glad to have met you and work with you. If you could catch us up on the technique, just for those who are joining us.
Yes, so as you can see, I have a color on Jaden's New Growth. That color is 6/34. It is from Koleston Perfect, and it's a level 6 gold red. So that's their base color. What I'm doing is I am using that color on alternating foils. So we're just in the right part here. So we have the 6/34 on the roots. Now I'm adding my accent colors. There are 2 accent colors. There's going to be a pink, like a pinky red, and another accent color is going to be the color I'm using at the moment, and that is 99/44. It's one of our new amazing Auburn shades in Koleston Perfect. What I've done is I've done a very heavy, messy, if I may say, weave. And the reason is I want to make it messy. If it's too precise, it doesn't look organic and blended. It is part of the process. And I've added the 99/44. It is mixed with Pastel Developer, 1.9% Welloxon or 6 volume. And I'm just putting it from that root all out to her ends. So that's going to really essentially give me a level 9 vibrant light red. I'm just going to fold that up. So that's the blue foil. And then the foil underneath is the weave that I haven't brought out to the ends. And this is just going to be the same as my base color, the 6/34. So I'm going to apply that. And then I'm going to underneath do a weave, but the weave is going to be of my Color Fresh Create, and look how yummy that looks. It almost looks like stuffing from the
cranberry.
Cranberry.
From Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're not in December yet. I don't believe it.
Now, how does Color Fresh Create different from your other formulas?
Color Fresh Create is a direct dye. It is not mixed with anything.
So it doesn't need any developer,
it
no
does not need
peroxide
no,
or developer
nothing
would
at
be
all.
the right term, right?
That is right. It's no peroxide, no developer. You better color hair, I think.
After 30 years, but it's kind of scary when I do. You call it messy, I call it organic.
Organic. It's organic.
Organic. Yeah, so Color Fresh Create is straight out of the tube. And what I've got here in my bowl, that lovely cranberry red, is 10 grams of our sorry, I had blank there. 10 grams of our high magenta, which is a bright, bright pink. And I've got 20 grams of our next red, which is a bright red. And that's what gives us this beautiful, it's not a red and it's not a pink, it's going to be in between. And it's a direct dye, which is going to be great in conditioning for Jaden's ends, because you can see they're pretty lightened. So everything I'm using on her hair is on very low developers. It's either no developer at all, or 6 volume, or maximum 10 volume. That's to keep the integrity of her hair.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sonya. If you're just joining us, I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain community, and it's my pleasure to be here today with Sonya Dove and Briana Cisneros, two of my favorite colorists, so I've had the chance to work with in my career, and you guys are getting a chance to learn from them no matter where you are in the world right now. So we encourage you to come up with great questions, really dig deep, and I'll share them. Normally, I have one phone in my hand, and by the end of these, my right arm is usually very sore. Now, today...
How's this working for you?
Yeah, today I have 2 phones, so both of my arms are going to be sore. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better that way.
You're going to be so swole.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing, 30 years as a hairdresser, and I got carpal tunnel from holding phones.
Oh, right.
Not from doing hair. All right, so Briana, you're moving along in your technique, so catch us up, let the audience know exactly where you're at.
Sure. So through the underneath, I did my base color with my mid-tone, my base color being a level 5 and 6. I'm just going about 1 inch down the roots, and that has a 10 volume in it with some browns mixed in with some coppers and some reds. Then my mid-shaft color, I'm amping it up a little with a 20 volume and a level 7 and 8 mixed together. And then I'm really punching up those ends with a level 8 and 9 and one of our new shades that I love, which is 9944, which is the same as what Sonya's using. I mixed that in with an 834, which is another copper color. So I'm gonna get these nice little copper flecks right here through the ends. And then as I'm working my way towards her face, I did a lot of depth and alternating kind of highs and lows with these 3 colors through the crown. But as I'm working towards her face, you can see this piece right here is all of that end kind of vibranty color. So she'll have these little pops of these really vibrant colors coming through the underneath a little higher up. So I'm changing it up as I work towards her face. I don't want so much of that right around her eyes. I want it to just be more a cool texture. I want it to add to the texture that I already created with the haircut. And I love to speak into the haircut too. So I use a combination of scissors and razor. So I did a lot of more blunt scissor cutting through the underneath and really created a strong shape. And then these feathery bits are the ones I want to look like fire, right?
I love the idea of creating the texture with color complementing the haircut, because the two have to go together so perfectly.
Absolutely.
Question coming in, a great general question, but one I'd love for you to tackle, Briana, from Jamie Black.
Cool.
Jamie's been a stylist now for 4 years and still feels like they take too long when foiling hair. Any tips on how to get faster?
Welcome to the club. No, I'm just kidding. All of us feel like, when is this going to be over? But the thing is yes, there is a way to get faster. And the thing is, you have to remind yourself, even when you're just kind of in the salon working on clients, that you're always growing. So never just be working on clients ever in your career. Always be growing, always be changing, always be really challenging yourself. Set a timer. I would do that with my assistants. I'd be like, time me, here I go. You know, I'm going in. And they'd start the clock, and I would just go, 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 go. And then I would each time try to beat my own time. And then I would tell her to tap me. Like, hey, tap me.
Awesome. Thank you, Briana. So if you're watching at home, we're getting close to the finish here. We've got about 10 more minutes of application. Of course, we're going to photo these beautiful models and make sure you can see the end results. But this is your chance to get your questions in. Again, we've got two incredible educators here, well-rounded, very diverse, and we want to hear those questions. That's what this is all about. Now, I have one for you, Sonya, that's pretty technical, but I think it's a great opportunity. John Markey is wondering if he has a natural base 5 regrowth, 5-stroke 6.5 and 5-stroke 6.6, can he go to a 7-stroke 4.6, 7-stroke 4.3 with 20 volume?
It depends about the texture of the hair. Is it fine or is it coarse? Because that plays an important part.
The texture type and density is a big part.
Density and texture. Yes, he could if the hair was fine, but it would probably be safer to just move it up a little bit to 30 volume. 20 volume won't give you that much of a lift, especially at those lower levels. And also what might need to be done is a little bit of some special mix in there to make sure you keep the vibrancy, depending how vibrant of a color you want. But I would go up to 30 for sure.
Now, guys, that's what we mean by priceless education. You just had a chance to ask a question of one of the best colorists in the world, and that's what this is all about. So be sure to ask your questions. This is what we want. This is what this is all about. So for anyone that's just joining, Sonya is working through an organic foiling application. Now, why did you choose for it to be so loose and organic?
You know, it's a little bit of how I work. In the salon, I'm like that. I don't have any assistants. I work on quite short times in the salon. I cut color and style, and I always like to cut before the color, especially if they're having a big change, as in Briana's model's case. So the timing is a big issue for me. So I don't like to spend too much time on lots and lots of foils. I like a simplistic approach. Less is more is how I am, you know. And I think when you first start off in hairdressing, you're finding your way. What sort of hairdresser you want to be, what type of things you really enjoy doing, and then you can start to really mold your clients to be that type of client. And it's how I work. I wish I could put in lots and lots of foils. I just don't have the time for it. And I do wish I had an assistant, but I don't. So that's how it is.
I don't work with an assistant either. I chose not to. At this point, the time I spend with my clients is so precious to me that I want to do everything. But that's, again, it's different for everyone. If I was behind the chair trying to do 60 clients a week, I'd have 2 assistants. But I'm doing more like 10 a month. So I really, I value that time. All right, we've got time for one more technical question for Briana.
Cool. Perfect.
Jer Robinson hair. That's one of the things different about Instagram from Facebook. On Facebook, everyone has their real names. And then on Instagram, it's like, all these kind of different handles. But Jer Robinson is wondering, is the 7.745 in color touch as vibrant as it looks on a swatch on a natural 7 base?
You know, swatches, you have to remember swatches are on top of something that you really have to think about the natural starting point of your client's hair, right? So swatches are always going to look different, which is why I think that it's a great indicator for the direction of the color and the tonalities that live within the tube. The way that it's going to come out on your client's hair is going to be based on the actual, is it finer hair? Is it coarser hair? Is it hair that, is it resistant? Is it going to really grab that or really lift really quickly? So you have to really think about your clients. So even in natural level 7, there's a lot of variance within that natural level 7, right? So even for my client right here, I have to change what I want to do around these little fine baby hairs. Everything is gonna take a little bit differently. So it is vibrant. It is a beautiful, vibrant color. But yeah, I think asking more of the why, right?
So that
Sonya, do you have
being
anything
said,
to add?
Brianna, do you show your clients swatches? I know some people always, they pull out the swatch book. Some people don't.
I
What's your
definitely
take?
don't.
No swatches.
Never.
No.
I'll use the natural level indicator on clients to indicate their true natural level, because that can be deceiving
But you're
sometimes.
not showing them the 7745 swatch.
But I'm not, because they can't always, they don't understand. They look at a swatch and they see it in a certain way, whereas when you've seen that color on their hair and all over their hair,
Texture type, density.
all of the variants that happen, and also they might marry themselves to that exact little swatch, and they might think it's gonna look one way on their head when it comes out all over their head. Have you ever painted a wall and like you look at the swatch and you think it's one color, and then you put it all over the wall and you're like, holy crap, that is dark, or holy crap, that is bright.
Yeah, just happened to me, literally.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yes.
exact reason I never show a swatch.
Great advice.
Yeah,
Now, Sonya, you've been
100%.
talking a lot about special mix, and Barbie LaBar is just wondering, how do you decide how much special mix to use?
It really only needs to be a small amount of the formula, because the special mixes are very strong. You know, they're either they're modifiers or intensifiers, but they're there to add a little bit of extra oomph. If you feel the hair is very porous on the ends, then you can put more in, but it's never any more than like say 3 inches out of the tube. 1 to 3 inches is enough, and mixing the same amount of developer is very important and key when you add to when you're adding to your formula. I did want to, just for 1 second, I've done all my foils up to the occipital area here, and then from the occipital area down, on this section of hair, I'll just open it up. I've just done the base color from scalp to ends all the way through. So there's no foils from the occipital area down. This is solid 6-stroke 3/4. So I did want to mention that, because I was doing that while we were just chit-chatting earlier.
So we're getting close to our finish, guys, here. I think Sonya's got everything applied. What is the processing now, Sonya?
The processing now is 30 minutes from the application of the last color. So even though I am using a direct dye can be left on for 5 minutes up to hours, because it has no developer in. But the last color I used is Koleston Perfect on Jaden's hair here on the back. So I'm going to time my 30 minutes from that point.
Fantastic. Now, so if you guys are at home, and I know there's been a lot of love and people saying thanks for the great education, you should be giving Sonya a round of applause at home. I want to hear
Yes.
claps from all over the world.
Yes.
All right. Let's move over to Brianna as she's just finishing up, and then we'll get a little bit of final words from both of our awesome educators today. So Brianna, what do you have to say for yourself to finish up?
What do I have to say for myself? So, one thing that I'm really, 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 really big on when it comes to applying solid color is cleanliness. So I wanted to point that out, because sometimes that can make or break a client coming into the salon. If they feel like they're gonna go home with the color applied halfway down their forehead,
Oh, yeah,
all
just
over
use
their
cigarette
ears,
ashes.
dripping down their
Yeah,
neck.
we don't wanna hear that anymore, right?
So I wanna leave you with one final tip, which is near and dear to my heart, and that is, leave these little baby hairs out for the end. And then when you go to grab them, go in with your comb and kind of just gently incorporate them like that, so that you don't have any kind of dripping in those areas. And you can even apply it with your comb, just gently like that, and not against the skin, but just the hair. But yeah, that's all I have to say for myself is work clean, work smart, think about the why, just learn your color, come to Wella Education and take some really intensive, but I want to say basic is the wrong word, because now there's a negative connotation. I don't think there's anything fundamental or essential classes, because I learn something every time I just work next to people like this. So I encourage you, know all of that so that you can get as creative as you want.
Now, Briana, there were tons and tons of questions about your pricing theory. I know you have a video on Instagram. Is that on your Instagram TV?
I do.
So let people know if they want to learn more about your pricing theory.
Sure, I totally break it all the way down in my Instagram. If you go to like the actual posts, it says I charge hourly in really big bold letters. Just click on that and read all the comments and all of the underneath, and you'll get your answer of how to kind of do that and transition into that way.
And that's just your name on Instagram, Briana Cisneros.
Briana Cisneros.
Awesome. Sonya,
Excellent.
thank you. It's been such a pleasure. I'm sure you have some final thoughts you'd love to share.
Yeah, a couple of things that a little bit Sonya Dove idiosyncrasies is when I work in the salon, I do have a sign that says Sonya Dove does not accept any of her clients to bring in Pinterest pictures. And the reason for that, I do have that and people are shocked by it, but really the most important person to me is the person in my chair, not a celebrity or someone that the guest brings in. And sometimes you're battling with Wi-Fi and things like that, and for me it's a waste of time. I like to give analogies with hair color, like a nice a deep rich red, like a Pinot Noir, a Cabernet, or the color of the Sahara sands, a beautiful light golden wheat blonde. So I like to give analogies of daily things that our guests know about.
Well, thank you so much, Sonya
Thank you.
and Briana. We've learned so much. We've said it all. We've talked about pricing and formulas and everything. This is what education's all about, guys. And again, you should definitely consider taking a class here at the Wella studio and supporting these guys everywhere that you can. It's been a pleasure bringing you this education. I've really enjoyed myself. And as I always like to say, peace out, and we'll see you on our next HB Live.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So here's my finished look on Jaden. So we've got a beautiful, deep, rich copper on the new growth with pops of dimensional tones through here. You can see the pink showing through and the red. One of our new shades from our Koleston Perfect Auburn range, 99/44. You've got to try it. It's unbelievable. And great shine, lovely dimension to it. And she just certainly looks better as a redhead. I hope you agree.
Hi, everybody. So I'm so excited to show you Ala. We had so much fun playing off of her eye color, her skin color. Even though she was really far from a redhead to begin with, I really feel like these toasty Auburn colors work perfect for her. We did go in, if you could look down, and this way, with the deeper color at the root, so you can really see how that outgrowth is going to be nice and soft and a little more natural. And then we brought in those bright pops of colors through the ends here to just add some more interest and some more room to play based off of her haircut. So if you want to give us a spin, you guys can see all of that beautiful shine and dimension. Everything was done with the new Koleston Perfect. And yeah, we're really happy with it, right? We love it. So I hope you love it too.